The 1936 Defender has a listing for Cox Springs School. It's a single page, doesn't have any information, in particular doesn't have any information about the location, the original location. The building today sits on Old Burnett Road, was moved there in 1940, and there's an effort to do historic or school restoration on the building. As this pamphlet describes, it started out as a school in 1895. The Cox Springs version of the school started in 1908, and then later, in conjunction with the building of Mansfield Dam, Marshall Ford Dam, the property was sold and the building was relocated, moved to Old Burnett Road, where it again served as a school. But the original location was at Cox Springs. But the question was, where was Cox Springs? So that's the gist of what this video is going to try to address, finding that location. And if we're lucky, getting a look at the school in the aerial photos that were taken in 1940 of most of Travis County. Here's just a couple of photographs I took yesterday when we visited. So Travis County, several of us from Travis County Historical Commission went out on November 21st, 2021 to look at the building on Old Burnett Road. Again, another photo and one more photo. So the real question was, where did it come from? Where was Cox Springs? And did we get lucky enough to have a 1940 aerial of it in its original location? And I think the answer is yes. So in 1940, aerials were taken of most of Travis County. So when before we made our field trip out there, I had looked up, if you see here, 18725 Old Burnett Road, which is where it shows up. On Google Maps. So here you can see the school, and it's shown as 18725, and we see Old Burnett Road. And Old Burnett Road has been there since the 1870s. Well, probably even longer than that. Commissioner Court was issuing money to work on. Back then, it was the road to Hamilton. Before Burnett used to be called Hamilton. So before we went out there on our field trip, I pulled up the 1940 aerials. Here's Burnett Road, and I couldn't find what looked like a school, which isn't all that unusual because sometimes these photographs, things are hard to pick out. They can be under trees. But having gone out there, I learned that the school had been moved from the original location. So the question was, well, where was Cox Springs? So the USGS has a name database, a place name database. I looked up Cox Springs. There was nothing. But there was a listing for a Cox Hollow. And so I pulled up the 1932 USGS and zoomed in on Cox Hollow, and bingo, there was Cox Springs School. So this is Loman Ford Road. Here you see Sylvester Ford, but this is Loman Ford Road. And pay attention particular to this. The school was kind of located in this little wedge here. Same map, but zoomed out a little bit. So here's Hudson Bend. So Cox Springs School, Tech School, Hudson Bend Church, which I'm going to assume is school. So let me back up on that. So the pictures, the school started in 1908. So if we go to the newspapers, indeed in 1909, there's an article talking about the mountain schools, some mountain schools, new ones. So listed together are Tech, Hudson Bend, and Cox Springs schools. It says that they're having lunch or dinners out there welcoming the new schools. So that was 1909 in the news. So the point being, again, back to the USGS, we see Cox Springs, Tech, and Hudson Bend are all in the right configuration, all close together. So these are the mountain schools. And down here we have here's Loman Ford Road, which you see the schools right in here, and here's the actual Ford. Fast forward to 1927. So again, the history is that the school burned twice. And one of those times was 1927. And we're going to find out here in a second that it was actually November. It was November that year that it burned. It's referenced in a later article. Anyway, one of the interesting things about this article is that after the school burned, various companies came forward offering free materials. So we get the names of these different companies. Becker Lumber, Kunz Sternberger Lumber is going to provide paint. Guarantee Roofing is going to provide the materials for the roofing, etc., etc. So that's good bits of information. So then 1928, another article says, hey, we're ready to go. They've started erecting the new school building, the Cox Springs School, that burned down last November. So we know it burned in November of 1927. And in 1928, March of 1928, they're in the process of building the school. Now, it burned down twice is the pitch. I'm going to make the assumption, which may or may not be true, that in 1928, this is the second. So we're seeing the building of the school that sits on Old Burnett Road right now. So that would give us a date for that building, 1928. So again, back to the main point here is to try to identify where the original Cox Springs School was at. So we have the 1932 USGS. So now we're going to use that to try to hone in on where that location is today, and hopefully see a 1940 aerial of the school. Okay, so now what we've got, we're in Google Earth now. The USGS publishes georeference copies of a lot of their maps. So the 1932, I pulled the georeference copy, loaded that in. So we're going to be working with georeferenced. And you have to tweak them a little bit. They're close, but I think we got a winner here. So here's Cox Springs School, 1932. Again, this is Loman Ford Road. Pay attention to the wedge right here. Okay, things are going to change a little bit. So that's 1932. So now what I've done is pulled in a georeference copy of the 1940 image. Okay, so you can see we've got Google Earth here in the background and here. See a building right there. So I'm going to fade these in and out so you can start seeing. So notice the schools in here, Loman Ford Road. Okay. This road coming in here, here's that wedge. See the wedge? That's our reference point. And a building right in here. Now what's new by 1940 is this road they've straightened out. And through time we're actually going to see this kind of fade out. And it's just a direct connection here to Loman Ford Road. Okay, so that is probably Cox Springs School. That's from the 1932. That's from the 1940. Now, as a sanity check, so the airplane flew over, took a photo of the school in 1940, and that same year, 1940, it got moved over to Old Burnett Road. So when we go to the 1964, so I pulled a copy of a 1964 geo-referenced aerial from historic aerials, and we see, here's the spot. Okay, notice this cleared pasture right here. We've still got the same triangle or the wedge here where it's located. The building is gone, as we would expect. This building disappears up here also. I don't know what that was, but they have since moved by 1964. So I think we got a winner. That's that is the school as it sat in 1940. So the big reveal, what's it look like today? There you go. And we got the cleared area. You've got remnants of that road that used to go up like this. You can see bits of it here. They used to make the wedge. It's set in there. Here is the straightening of the road. So this piece has kind of gone away. This is the new straightened road. And that's what it looks like today. So now I'm going to switch over to Google Maps. Okay, here is the school location, lat long for the school. So that was Sylvester Ford. Okay, I didn't know what the name of that road was. Loman Ford is here. So let's look at that like that. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take our street view, pull it over here. And now you're looking at, that is the probable location of, the original location of Cox Springs School, right there. And the address, what is 3421 Loman Ford Road, Leander, Texas. Field trip.